This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Tuesday, May 11th, 2021, episode 330. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. My name is Nick Craig, your trusty, dusty host. You can, well, not dusty, but you can check me out on Gab at Nick and follow along with my new radio and political ventures at nickcraig.com. You can listen to Wilmington's Morning News with Nick Craig Monday through Friday, each and every morning from 6 to 9 a.m. on 980 The Wave in Wilmington, North Carolina. You can also visit, of course, our website, which is infectionpodcast.com. Joining me as he does each and every week, he's not quite as dusty. Well, actually, technically he would be. He's older. But Brian, Brian with an I, Aldridge. Hello, Mr. Brian.
You can be dusty, I'll be crusty. How about that?
Oh, disavow that whole statement. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Hey, you're doing well. If you want to find me, first of all, at Brian Aldridge on Parler and Gab. We also have biteoftech.com if you want to go check out my blog. And of course, as Nick said, infectionpodcast.com. Just go to the right-hand side and you see where it says join our server on Discord. If you do that, you can go and submit news to the news channel. There's a workout channel, politics channel. There's all kinds of stuff that you can hang out and do, chat with people. We got a lot of ARC servers running. Also, we have our Steam group, which we've been testing. I sent one 20 minutes before the show or before the hour, and it didn't pop up. So we'll just, who knows? It'll pop up in the middle. We'll ignore it for now. But if you want to watch the live show, you can do that through Twitch, YouTube, Mixer, or there's no Mixer anymore, BitChute and DLive. And then also we have the Extras channel if you want to get the pre and post show that Judd puts together for us. And then we have all the audio only forms. So the podcast forms of the show. If you go to the lower right hand side, you can do that. And there's a bunch of links for web-based apps, desktop apps, mobile apps, anything you can think of, you should be able to listen to through that. And if you want to follow along the show notes, you can do that by clicking on the particular episode that you want to listen to or watch. And if you click that, there's a whole list of links, and there's a video player, audio player, everything that you need to be able to follow along on the show and watch whatever videos or read whatever articles that we refer to. And then if you want to support us, there's a support tab up top, or you can go to infectionpodcast.com/support, or you can go to amazon.infectionpodcast.com, humble.infectionpodcast.com. We have our Subscribe Star link on there. And then we have our Prime Gaming subs. So
we do need to thank a subscriber, Brian, our good friend,
yes,
UGX Vibe, who I spent some time with a couple weekends ago. And he is talking about a topic that is hitting the East Coast of the United States hard. He says, I have gas hit me up, $55 a gallon. There is a gas shortage, not a gas shortage, because that's what people are saying. There's a gas transmission shortage where they can't physically move the gas on the East Coast. And it literally looks like there's a hurricane here because every gas station is either out of fuel or has a line 40 cars deep for gas because people are retarded. And
well, we focus on survival games, and if you look at what's going on, people I think take for granted how balanced, how just on a edge everything that we do is.
We are 72 hours away from total disaster.
Yes, if you go through and don't, if for some reason cars can't ship, gas, a big thing, trucks can't get gas, for some reason if gas can't happen, food is not entering your city, and you are going to get hungry. So if you don't have some source of water, you don't have some source of food, it could be electricity. I was watching something and they talked about how there was a brownout in New York back in the late 70s, early 80s.
That would have been the late 60s and early 70s. That was
was that late 60s, early 70s?
The great New York City blackout.
And then there was like riots and just everything was destroyed because they knew that police weren't coming.
You want to hear a cool thing about that story, Brian? For all you radio nerds out there? All right. This is really nerdy, but I don't really care because it's my show. So back in the olden days, record turntables used to, a turntable spins at a certain speed. That's how it makes the sound. That's how, and that's why you've got a selector for a 12 or a 6-inch, whatever. That's how it works. Well, back in the 60s, the record players were built off of a 60 hertz cycle. So it would time based off of the 60 hertz frequency that the power is. Well, right before the blackout, all of the hertz of the signal went down. So it went from like 60 to 48. So there's a great air check of Dan Ingram on WABC in New York. He's like, oh, all the music, everything is in slow motion, because right before the blackout, the 60 hertz shrunk to 48 hertz, and it caused everything to slow down. It was much slower. So really cool. That's a cool audio clip. You should check that out. But yeah, we are absolutely, and we see it all the time here. I mean, I've been through 3 hurricanes since I've lived in North Carolina. By the way, National Hurricane Preparedness Week, ready.gov. You can check that out. I feel like I'm doing my radio show. This is great. Our phone number is 910.
Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. I've had 6 years of practice. But yeah, it is pretty good. And it's funny because we do see, you play a game like, what's the one, the PlayStation game,
Days Gone. You're thinking
the one
of
that they ruined, The Last of Us. That's, I mean, it's kind, that's kind of that is not far away. I believe it's 48 or 72 hours without food and water, and that's when you go and kill your neighbor. Like at that point, you're like, oh, I've got to provide for my family. I'm gonna go shoot and kill my neighbor and steal what they have. That's how far we are, how close we are, rather, to total impending doom. Which is
and that's the thing is as you said, 70 within just days, people would be killing each other.
Like between this show and the next, there would be no next show.
No, the people within days, people would be killing each other, and that's not even in the inner cities and places like Chicago, New York, and LA. Like you expect people to kill each other. Here, people would be killing each other.
Yeah, you'd be sitting at your front door with a gun, waiting for somebody to come in and try to steal something from you and your family. And that's not a crazy Republican conspiracy theory. That is the reality.
That's very real. So that's why when people say you don't need guns, okay, well, we're way.
Okay, all right. Stop. You do an hour.
I'm getting ready to jump off the cliff and just run. I caught myself. We're not in the pre-show.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. Infowars.com, prisonplanet.tv. Buy our colloidal silver, our life straws, and Patriot
We're in the
Supply.
Intro still. I almost forgot that we had started the show. We're no longer in the pre-show.
I mean, we could do this for an hour. I did it for 3 hours this morning. I'm willing to continue the conversation. I'm all in. But I do think some of our audience would like to hear about.
They probably want to hear about the actual things that we came to cover. So
yes, well, I mean, they're not paying for it. Well, some of them are, I guess. But I think most of our subs and subscribers would be okay with those conversations. Well, Brian, if there was any question that we were going to do a trade show this year, we now are down to one possible trade show. One of the shows that we looked at last year doing Gamescom instead of PAX, which we were told 2 years ago was
big.
Like this guy, we met a guy and he was one of the developers. He was like, "Oh, you think PAX is cool?" He's like, "Gamescom is like 6 times the size, and PAX is massive." Like we were walking like 15 miles a day at PAX. He's like, "Oh, you think that's cool? Gamescom is cool, but it's in Europe. Excuse me, it's in Germany." We thought about doing that. It just was insanely expensive. But now we don't have to worry about it because Gamescom 2021, which takes place the week before PAX West, so if that's any indication, will be an all-digital event this year. So they're going to be
the most likely Vegas it is what you're telling me.
I mean, I'm already inviting my friends to go to Vegas. So yeah, I'm going to Vegas the other Labor Day weekend. So that's what I'm planning on, because it just doesn't seem like a trade show is going to happen. And this is the show of the year is Gamescom. It doesn't E3, PAX, GDC, none of these even hold a flame to Gamescom. It is a huge show.
But also, even if let's say that PAX did happen, how many vendors are going to be there? Because the issue that we run into, most of the vendors they ship their stuff from Gamescom over to PAX. They make all their presentation once, and then they're shipping it around all these different conventions throughout the year. If you have no conventions, do you think they're going to make a whole set for their product just for PAX?
Hey, my name is Nick. I'm with the Infection Podcast. Hopefully you can hear me through this mask.
Yeah, mask on.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Oh, sorry. It's a pleasure to meet. Pleasure to meet you at this great trade show. All right, welcome back to the program. Yeah, no, it would just be a freaking disaster.
So that's kind of my issue. Is I think even if there was, for some reason, PAX decided to do it, it would just be a bunch of the people that we see there. You know, the people that follow conventions around. It would just be a ton of those people making the place stink, packing it to the brim, and all laying on those disgusting mats and bing bags.
Yes, absolutely. So we're okay. We're not doing a trade show this year. I think we've already announced this, Brian. A group of us are gonna go to Vegas in around Labor Day. As it gets closer, we'll have more details. But that's that. So
okay,
yeah.
Labor Day,
no question about it. Yeah, Labor Day, around Labor Day, we'll figure it out as it gets closer. But we're looking at Labor Day weekend. So
okay,
hopefully you can join us for that. But yeah, no Gamescom. It's virtual, so there will still be shows and announcements and things like that, but there will not be that big event that's normally in I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in Germany that they do it. So sad stuff in the state of video games and trade shows. Hopefully they'll be back next year.
Yes. Now I wanted to follow up on something we reported on last week, and I think this is like a 3-week in a row kind of a topic that keeps coming up.
Sure.
So with Activision, you remember we talked about the president of Activision, or the CEO, who had gotten his bonus even though Yeah. And then there was another thing they followed up afterwards, complaining about, whatever had happened at Activision, and again, he still got money. But then he took a half pay cut last week, remember? So he took his pay in half. Now there's been a report based on their Q1 that they have lost almost 29% of the active player base at Activision. Or Blizzard has, not Activision itself. So Blizzard has lost almost 29% of its overall active player base in the past 3 years. Part of that would be maybe Blizzard with the World of Warcraft Classic that came out. A lot of people played that originally, dropped off. I can
tell you what this is. No, I think.
What do you think? What would it be?
It's Overwatch, Brian. The Overwatch has lost.
You think people are just dropping off of it?
Yeah, man. When was the last time you played Overwatch?
Well, since we played it as a group.
That was what, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
If I had to guess, now, yes, of course, they've lost some players in Warcraft, but if I had to put my money on the line and say, what is the game that lost the most year over year? It's got to be Overwatch, because there's been a lot of other games that have come out. And I can, speaking as somebody that loves Overwatch, I really do love Overwatch. I have not been pulled or intrigued to play Overwatch. I don't believe I've played Overwatch in over a year. It may be a year and a half. I could not tell you the last time I played Overwatch. That would be my guess. I'm sure there is definitely some people, but in the last 3 years, WoW Classic hasn't been out for 3 years. So those users would have come and then left already. So I don't think it would be as evident, because those would have been quote unquote new players, right?
So let me give you some statistics.
Yeah.
There's another article that kind of followed up that gives a few numbers. So first of all, it's not struggling because their revenue increased by 7% year over year.
Perfect.
And one thing that's been driven by is World of Warcraft Shadowlands. So Shadowlands
subscriptions, right,
did very, very, very good to push them to make actual money. Hearthstone released their expansion that performed very strongly, here. Overwatch earned 10 million new players without releasing any new heroes or modes. So they actually went up. They've gained 10 million players. Overwatch has.
10 million players in what?
In Overwatch in general. The player base of Overwatch has grown 10 million players in 3 years.
Sales, not active players.
Well,
can't be active players. There's no way the game.
Players.
Yeah, but that can't be right. That doesn't make sense. Overwatch is not a new game. There's no way they have 10 more million active players now than they did 3 years ago. I mean, right? That can't be right. It's got to be sales.
It says right now. So it says that Overwatch 2 director said that they reached 60 million players in 2021. That's 10 million players more than they had in 2019.
So that's players. That's what I'm saying. So that's probably people that own the game.
Yes,
right?
But yeah, probably people. Is it still? Do you still have to pay for that game?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It's not
Yeah,
free to play now.
I don't think so.
I have no idea.
I've owned it for so long.
I've owned it for so
idea.
long. I don't know if it's gone free to play since I started. I've never.
No, it's not free to play. No, it is not free to play. It's
and one thing they're saying is those are mostly what they can tell
$40.
mostly news players.
It's $20.
Okay, so it's $40. So yeah, so I mean, so it's not Overwatch.
Okay.
You know, but it says there's. So first of all, Diablo 3, StarCraft 2, Heroes of the Storm, those ones didn't do have dropped off. It could be that a lot of those old school games, the players just are dropping off of those. So that's the case. It just seems kind of odd. They're making money, but they're just hemorrhaging people, and we'll see. We'll see if that starts to change. I figured they probably figure as long as they're making money, but eventually that's going to catch up with them. If they keep hemorrhaging players, no matter what things you're making money on, that's going to cross that line. You're just going to start losing money. So in other news too, there was a lawsuit. There's been this lawsuit that's been out there for 9 years. And it's a patent infringement lawsuit. And this has to do with Activision Blizzard and going against this company called Worlds Inc. So they make I'm trying to remember what they make similar style games, in kind of MMO style games. So Worlds claims use a general purpose computer to employ well-known filtering or crowd control methods, and means that ultimately use same to display graphical results and generate a view of the virtual world. So the problem is they were saying some very generic abstract idea in their patent, and didn't actually exclaim any kind of technology in it. And so this went through and pretty much made Blizzard win because they proved that there was no infringement. This company wasn't doing anything
Worlds
actually
Inc.
special.
Worlds Inc. is a leading intellectual property developer and licensee of patents related to 3D online virtual worlds. The company has a profile of 10 U.S. patents for multi-server technology for 3D applications. I don't necessarily think you'd call them a troll.
Well, it depends if all their cases are like this. If all of their patents are as loose as possible to get a patent, then they would be.
But in this case, it is a very... Okay, true, but it is a very, like, normally these patent trolls, they'll just get a patent for anything, right? These guys are specifically limited to multi-server technology for games. I'm not, I don't know anything about them, but they're rather siloed in what exactly they do. So yeah, they don't actively do anything. They just own patents. Yeah,
they have patents. So this is something, the ruling ends, and here just to kind of close it up, the ruling ends at long tit for tat between the two companies, which saw Worlds Inc. get hit with a countersuit by Activision Blizzard for the exact same thing. So here, I'm not going to read the editorial comments of this writer, but I don't really know unless I really dug into the case and saw that this is their history, like this is their pattern. These other ones are fairly loose. It could be that they bought a fairly weak patent thinking they had more than they did, and Activision kind of proved that it wasn't a real patent. It could be, or they could be patent trolls just trying to make money.
Yeah, exactly. Either it could be either. I just don't know anything about them, and frankly, I don't really care, to be honest with you. There's not.
Jonesy says he thinks he's a patent troll.
Okay.
Jonesy claims that it's a single guy who owns Worlds. He maintains a server for the MMO he made so he could sue everyone who makes an MMO, is what Jonesy thinks. So
great.
We will see. And then there was one other piece of news that came up for Activision because of one of their voice actors. One of their voice actors got called out for sexism. And he voiced Ghost in Modern Warfare Remake. And so he's been let go. The problem is he posted some clips on Twitter, and he's had some things to say about what's her name? Zombie Unicorn. And so this is Zombie Unicorn. I'm not a big fan of her, but of course you're not allowed to even say anything negative about
she's an
female on Twitch.
She's an e-thought. Okay, gotcha.
Yes. So we actually, she was at PAX when we went and interviewed PUBG for the first time. When we went into their she was right there next to us, right there. I mean, she's
Great.
She's a somewhat well-known Twitch streamer, not huge, but seems to be more into controversy lately. And then he said some things that I'm not going to repeat here. Pretty much just saying he making a comment about her horrendous cleavage. And then,
which is what Twitch is now. And by the way, these comments were made in 2017.
Yeah.
So he was ahead of the curve on attacking the e-thoughts. Yeah.
So they're saying this is sexism because he said that she shouldn't be having her cleavage hanging out on a live stream.
I'd hire him. I wish I had a position to hire him for.
Yeah. Melmo says he's been on Compound Media. So.
Oh, has he? Great. Mel, what episode? Great. Was he on recently? That's great.
Well, if you can, send us a message in Discord or email us contactinfectionpodcast.
Yes.
Podcast.com if you have that link.
And then then he was on Facebook, and then he was streaming on Facebook Gaming, and he was using gamer words when playing Call of Duty, which if you've ever played Call of Duty, you've also used these same words. Great. Good on.
So that's kind of the case.
Yay! Sexism is solved. Activision has done it yet again, folks. Raise your SJW sword. We did it. Woo!
I mean, if you want to cut down on sexism, how about not relying on sex to promote yourself?
Ladies and gentlemen, I've terminated Brian Aldridge's contract on Infection Podcast. It's been a good run. We appreciate all he's done for the program, but I cannot continue to do my show with somebody that would make such bigoted statements here on the air. I would never make any sort of comments like that. I joke. But you're right. If you're so offended by sexist comments, how about you stop having your boobs hang out all over the internet? Which, hey, I get it, right? You can sell that and it's a good business opportunity. Good for you. Then sell it, but then deal with the repercussions of it, which is people.
But Amazon shouldn't be selling it, in my opinion.
Yeah, but Amazon's not selling it; they're allowing it, and that's to me. It's
probably the biggest portion of their income right now.
It is 100%. I mean, Brian, you've got girls that are sitting in hot tubs with bikinis on, writing
with
guys'
minimal
names.
talent. I'm not going to say zero talent, but minimal talent. They're not doing anything, showcasing any of those talents.
Well, they do. They can write guys' names on their body that donate bits to them. That's a talent. They can read and write.
Oh, good. Yeah. School did them good.
So yeah, thank God all of our world problems have been solved. Thank you, Activision.
One thing I want to make, can I make one comment about?
You can do whatever you want.
This is controversial. We'll hopefully
I'll give you the full stage. Go for it.
Thanks. You don't want the screenshot. You don't want the clip of when this goes somewhere. What I'm going to say is that it used to be feminism was promoting women and not needing to sell themselves to men to be special, that they were unique in themselves and they didn't need to rely on those aspects of their body to be unique and special and something. And it seems like it's reversed now. Feminism seems to be that you have to that you have the right to sell your body to any man you want. That seems like that's kind of counter to feminism to me, if you're a true feminist. So that's my opinion.
I will not make a comment on that.
Okay, well, that's my opinion.
Brian at infectionpodcast.com if you have any comments or questions. Props to this guy for having these comments were made 4 years ago. I mean, I don't understand what the big freaking deal is, but I mean, whatever. All right, well.
No, that's Activision.
Thank God they lost 3% of their player base. Thank God they fired this guy. That is definitely gonna that's gonna get the old pony started and get them back up and running, I'm sure.
So now, okay, Activision, a lot of somewhat negative news. Ubisoft, though, has some pretty good news here.
Yeah.
First of all, they are going to be branding all their first-party games to Ubisoft Originals.
Okay.
So if you'll see Ubisoft Original on there. There is a new, and we're going to talk about here right after this, there's a new, not DLC, but a new first-party game, a title based on another one of their works that's coming out here very soon, and that's the first one I've seen that says Ubisoft original on it. So there is this this game with the Division. It's not a DLC that's coming out. They just announced it. It's going to PC and consoles.
All right.
This is going to be free to play.
Oh,
from what I understand, it is going to be. So it's the Division Heartland. It's free to play title from Red Storm Studios. It's going to expand the Tom Clancy's Division universe. They said that they're going to be working. Work continues on Division 2, but they're trying to introduce more people to the Division universe on this. So, I don't know. It doesn't really say.
Boy, they really
say what it is.
Thank God Tom Clancy's dead, because I mean, at this rate, they'd owe him so much in continued IP. I mean, this is what, the third Division game now? Yeah,
and so I'm not 100% sure. It could be some sort of a BR, or it could be something just in another, because it's Heartland. So it could be just going to a different area, maybe a more open area. Who knows? But it is going to be free to play. It says it's going to provide an all new perspective on this universe.
Yeah, I'm trying to gather exactly what this is.
Yeah, I've been looking.
This article says we have absolutely no idea what kind of game Heartland will be, but with the looking at the success of games like Call of Duty Warzone, that's what I would bet on. And if it is free to play, that would be the indication, right? The way that you're it doesn't make sense to make a full game and make it free, but it does make sense to make a BR or some sort of
I'm thinking it's going to be some sort of a BR. Yeah, something like that.
Because they don't have one, do they? I don't believe Ubisoft, like Far Cry doesn't have a BR. This is going to probably be their first BR that they've done in-house, would be my, I think. They
put out a roadmap of things for Division that are happening. So we've already had the Division 1.
The old Division?
2. The original, so they have the original Division, the second Division. They have the Division 2 Warlords of New York. And then they have this one that's coming out next, Heartland. And then they're going to have some new content for Division 2. Then they're doing Division Mobile. Then they're doing a novel about Division. And then Netflix is then releasing a film called The Division.
The film would be cool. The Divisions are sorry, my cat is in here crying at me. The universe of The Division is very deep. It's very deep. It's got a lot of depth to it. So I'm a TV series or a film, and it says The Division, the novel. Isn't it already based off of a novel? Isn't The Division already a Tom Clancy IP? How is it Tom Clancy's The Division?
But there's not an actual book, I don't think, out for it.
So why is it called Tom Clancy's The Division then? That doesn't even make any sense.
Because they like to name them after people. So here we go. They have. I'm okay. I've got a book here. 2016. There was a book called Tom Clancy's The Division: New York Collapse, and it was released in 2016. So yeah, that was based on a book.
Tom Clancy's
but there must be a new one coming out. I wonder if it's going to be. Maybe it will be based on some other area, because that was New York. Maybe it's going to be another zone that then will be followed up by the film or something like that. So
this book is released as a companion to 2016's Tom Clancy: The Division. So there was no book.
So it's not like it doesn't look gigantic. It looks like a thin book.
No, it's not. It's a companion. It's essentially just a.
Oh, is it all it is? It's a
companion book. Yes, that's what it says. So there is no The Division book from Tom Clancy.
So
in the
this will
80s
be
or
the
90s.
actual thing for it.
That's what it appears.
But there are some other books that he's written. The Tom Clancy's Division: Extreme Malice. Isn't that a book? Yeah, that's a hardcover book. So there are stories. That's a prequel to The Division 2.
I mean, that's most of his stuff, right? I mean, a lot of his books.
He's also done one called Broken Dawn. That's The Division. So he's got a bunch of Division books. So he's just must be they're releasing another one at that time. Or one based on maybe the new zone that's in Heartland or something that's going to be related to the film.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Clancy was an incredible writer. I mean, his books and then movies, like Hunt for Red October and stuff. I mean, you ever played the Hunt for Red October NES game? That's a lot of fun. That's a very cool game. Yeah, I think it's NES or maybe it's SNES.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, they released that. We'll have to see, because he died in 2013. So
yeah, he's been dead for years.
I remember if they can release something
early on in the Xbox 360 days. There was a Tom Clancy game that came out, and it was what are the kinds of games where you just move resources around? I don't know what those are called, but it was a Tom Clancy game like that, and it actually used a voice command. It was one of the first games on the Xbox 360, and it was obviously a Ubisoft game, and you kind of controlled your troops and moved your mechs and whatnot around using voice commands. It was pretty cool. They've been milking the Tom Clancy. I mean, not milking. They obviously own the IP or own the rights to make video games with it for 20 years, 20 plus years now, probably.
Well, and that's the thing here. It'll be interesting to see where they go in the future, because they've actually made a statement saying that they are going to be focused on high-end free-to-play games in the future.
Well, what?
So they said,
what does that mean?
Well, they say AAA releases will continue, but they say they see a great opportunity to expand their audience through free-to-play, and I think that Heartland is one of the first ones. So it sounds like they're going to be doing smaller games to get people interested.
Expand our pocketbooks, as I believe. Yeah. I believe you misread that, Brian.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what it really comes down to.
Well, but if you talk about it, right, you look at their popular series, Far Cry is dead, right? People are not beating down the GameStop doors to
there are too many repeated mechanics to
Assassin's
make it really
Creed
that interesting.
It's still got its player base, but it's nowhere near what it was. Siege was and still is incredibly popular. Rainbow Six Siege on the PC, but they don't have. The Division was their last big series, and that was 2016. That was a couple years ago. The Division 2 was a total flop, in my opinion. I don't know anybody that actively played it.
I own it two different places, and I've played the intro. It just I was like, this could be good. It's got a huge world. I waited a while to see if they fixed some issues. I went in and played it, still really buggy, and it was just no fun. So I had no interest in playing it.
Well, damn, that kind of sucks. But yeah, so cool to see. Free to play, I think, is for people like me. Free to play is great because I'm not pulled into the whole microtransaction thing. So the game is literally free for me because I will never buy anything inside of it. I haven't spent $1 in Warzone. I haven't spent $1 in I don't know of any other free to play games I play, but it's good for me.
Yep. So well, we'll see. We'll see where they go. But yeah, they're planning on releasing a bunch of free to play games. So I'm sure over the next couple of years we'll have a bunch of them coming out.
Excellent. Let's talk about Stadia. The ever so failing
platforms.
Yeah, the ever so failing platform. Hopefully, maybe we can catch up with them at PAX next year. So the issue right now with Stadia, which I didn't actually realize, to be honest, because there's so little information and player base on it. So currently to use Stadia on your TV, you need a Chromecast Ultimate, which is $70, and you also need the Stadia Gamepad, which is also $70. There is no way for you to play Stadia this is on your TV without using their controller. You have to use their controller. But apparently the new version of the Stadia app 3.15 has been decompiled by 9 to 5 Google, and they say that there's some features in there that they call bridge mode, which will allow you to sidestep or not use the official Stadia controllers. It gives you two possible options to control. One of them hints at using the phone's touchscreen, so you could have some sort of soft controller on your phone that it would look at. You'd look at your phone screen and it would have all the little buttons and displays, or some sort of Bluetooth or other controller that would connect to the Chromecast itself. Because as of right now, again, the only way to play this is to invest in $140 worth of Google equipment, and that does not include the most recent Chromecast, which is $50. Stadia isn't even supported in that. So this article says too little, too late. Yeah, you think?
I mean, if they wanted to be successful, they should have gotten off the hardware train of this and been releasing this for Fire TV, Roku, come up with ways to do their streaming service through Xbox.
I don't think it would have mattered where they did their streaming service. They don't have any games, Brian. There's your product.
But I'm saying that would have been their only way to really even compete, and they still didn't have games to do it. Like, I don't think they would have. They didn't have a window or a path to success on this that I see.
I love the way that you put that. Yeah, there was never. I could never. You're right. And we from day one, we were very early on.
We've called this out. We've said this from day one that it just didn't seem like it made sense.
Who exactly is this marketing? Who exactly is using this service? Like, who is saying, "Oh wow, I really wish I had this service," and we could not find it. And it appears that, well, Google's not finding it either because they've.
Yep.
I mean, it's over. It's absolutely over. But
yeah,
if this was the reason you weren't playing Stadia, well, I guess you can keep an eye out for this new version of the software. You'll potentially be able to connect a Bluetooth controller or use a phone to control the game. So, good news there from Stadia. Yeah,
I think this segues nicely into some Microsoft news. That there was an article released talking about how Microsoft wants to bring the Xbox Game Pass to other consoles. And this was another one of the leaked documents from the Epic versus Apple lawsuit, because that Microsoft has been trying to get the Xbox Game Pass onto other consoles so that they can have the subscription and you can play games.
What other console? The PlayStation? There's no other console. Actually, whoa, hold on, bro. If they could get Xbox Game Pass on the Switch, that would be banging. Because you've got the controllers already built in.
They have their cloud gaming.
Yeah,
they have their cloud gaming, so you wouldn't even need the Switch hardware. You could sit there and stream. And I've tried it. All they have to do is get their little cloud gaming app on there on the Switch,
would be sweet.
And then they'll have the Game Pass on the Switch.
That would be really,
which I think they could do if Nintendo would allow them to post the app onto their marketplace,
which they will not, and neither will Sony. So.
But I mean, but you got to think, like, this would be the way for them to sell a bunch of Switches. I mean, I understand that they're not going to be selling as many games.
Stupid. They're
old school. They own
IPs. They
don't make the wisest decisions.
They make it so that if you want to play certain games, you literally have to older Nintendo games that they won't re-release. So the only way to play them is to essentially download the ROM. They've got a backlog of IPs, Nintendo does, that is so deep, and people are willing to pay for in the Nintendo eShop that they just do not make available. So people just rip the ROMs and then homebrew their Switches so they can put those games on there. Nintendo could sell these games for $4 a piece and make a killer.
One thing I found so odd is the only things that Nintendo released was one of them was that little Mario coin collection game, which was really stupid. Yeah. It was a really, really poorly made game. The controls weren't good. It's like you're a company that makes console hardware. You make games, and you're telling me you can't make a mobile game? You've got tons of classic games that people would pay a lot of money to be able to play the original Mario on their phone. Because you know what? That's the perfect place for the original Mario. Nowadays, the resolution is high enough to where you can still see detail. There's only a couple buttons that you push for Mario. Start releasing those things on Android and iPhone, and then you'll have a huge boost in your sales. And you could just do that. Keep releasing. Here's Mario. Here's Mario 2. Go through Donkey Kong. Start doing that. And I think they'll run. But the problem is, I think they'll run into the same situation. They won't need the regular Nintendos anymore. They'll have the Switch. But at what point, at that point, will they even need the original Nintendos anymore? If they get people just pretty much buying stuff up on mobile.
Yeah, they won't do that.
Yeah, I don't think so. So this is something, we'll see what happens with it, but maybe with the Switch. I mean, it's a possibility,
really
but
cool.
Hasn't happened yet. But I think it would be a good deal for both sides. I think it would sell Switches, and Microsoft would sell more of their Game Passes.
I haven't used my Switch since I moved in. It's sitting exactly where I put it when I moved in.
Yeah,
on the TV stand.
Well, I've been thinking about getting one, but it's the same situation. I probably would never play it.
But you have children that would play it.
Yeah, they would play it, and I don't know that I want them playing it all the time, so I'll just not get one.
Okay, well, that's not. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a great console, it really is. I just don't play video games. as we've documented over the past 7 years on this show. You've got another one here that some Xbox games are potentially going to PS5.
Yes,
no,
but this is kind of a follow-up. So this is kind of a follow-up. This is a different article, but kind of talking about the same thing, where they're thinking that it's going to hopefully get. They put on here PS5. Who knows? But it's kind of a follow-up. It's from Nintendo Power. I put it in there if people are interested in following up on it. There was another article here talking about a new game coming to the Game Pass, and it's a game that we talk about quite a bit, Conan Exiles. So that's going to be coming to the Game Pass for console and Windows PC. They've also announced a new DLC. So they did a launch date trailer, and if you want to play that really quick, this looked like it was a pretty big update.
And this is Isles of Sipta. We've talked about this a little bit. They've released different bits and pieces and screenshots, but they've got a really nice voiced over and for Conan Exiles, a very pretty trailer. So let's take a look at this.
Yes.
And we'll discuss where it's coming and where you can get it right after this.
Conan Exiles Isle of Sipta introduces a massive new world to Conan Exiles, filled with secrets, challenges, and treasure. Explore the mysterious vaults of the elder races. Battle for control over powerful surges of sorcery. Survive the vicious storm raging around the tower. And face the monstrous spider god, Zath. We have worked closely with the community to improve and expand the island since the launch
can you
of
rewind that
early
really quick?
access.
Sorry.
And with full launch approaching, there is a lot to discover in Conan Exiles Isle of Sipta.
It was important for us to engage with the community throughout the early access development period. Exiles has a varied audience of players, including RPers, PvPers, PvEers, and modders that play the game their own way. We vetted changes to the main pain points that people were having. So we wanted to add proven gameplay elements from the Exiled lands, so it's a more familiar experience, but also the same different experience, conflict-based, that we originally wanted with the Isle of Sipta. We added NPC camps to really bring the island alive. One of the main feedback points from our community is that they missed the dynamic elements of the camps from the Exiled lands. Players can now gather thralls through the many new NPC camps that we've added.
Stygian mercenaries have settled on the eastern coast in order to restore the colony left behind by their ancestors. Black corsairs have landed on the western beaches, intent on thwarting Stygian expansion. They are ready to wage war on any who oppose them. Nobody knows where the accursed came from, or why they dwell in the shadow of the Tower of Sipta. What was the price of the pact that brought them a truce with the creatures of the outer void?
The rescue mechanic is a new way that players can gain access to the follower system. You'll need to track down a jailer, knock him out, steal a key from him, and then go to a cage where there's a captured thrall. When you unlock them and release them, they instantly become your companion. We wanted to make the new camps exciting and engaging, so in addition to rescuing prisoners and capturing thralls, players will be able to unearth buried treasure, swim out and explore the flotsam and discover treasures in the ocean, and capture and raise new unique puppies.
We really tried to give the player some more land mass, more space. We have 3 distinctive areas in this new part of the map. We have one very large open area which is very reminiscent of the savannah or some of the early areas in the Exile lands. Located in the center of the savannah, we have a massive capital which is the remains of a fantastic and ancient civilization. What remains there though actively is these 3 pools. These can be activated by collecting small statues that are placed and scattered all through the island. Place them into the pool and they will trigger dangerous creatures, exciting encounters. Each one will be different. Each one will be unique. In the central area of the map, we have a very large floodplain. These areas will encourage the player to build in a certain way, and it would also encourage people to siege these buildings. Then we have a volcanic area. The player will have to travel through it very cautiously. There are dangers around every corner. At the base of the Tower of Sipta, the players will find the Void Forge. Firstly, they need to gather fragments of power to gain access to this. But once they do, they will find a beautiful magical inner chamber.
The main features for the Isle of Sipta are the Surge, the Vaults, and the Storm. We've made them less dependent on each other so that players can play the game the way they want and engage in the activities that they find most enjoyable.
Wow,
the
letting players play the way they want.
Portals that open up
novel
and
concept.
rip people from around Ivoria
shocking.
into the Isle of Sipta. We've made them a lot more accessible so players can engage with them, spending less resources and activating them whenever they want. The Storm is a magical vortex that's centered on the tower in the Isle of Sipta. We've made it easier for players to live, build, and ride their mounts in the Maelstrom. The vaults are structures that the elder races and inhabitants of the Isle built to hide from the storm. We've changed them so that they are now high-level content that you can go into with your friends, battle epic bosses, and get new unique rewards and buffs. We're excited to add a new religion to the Isle of Sipta. Players can worship the terrifying spider god Zath and summon and control its avatar to attack their enemies with corrosive venom and defend themselves by shedding spider brood on those that oppose them. One of my favorite systems from the Exiled lands is the Purge. When players build their base, the native inhabitants from the lands rise up and attack them. We've introduced this system to the Isle of Sipta. We've also introduced a new system where players can prevent or provoke the purges from happening. And depending on where you build, the new NPC factions, the elder races from the vaults, will rise up and attack your base. The purges provide another way for players to be able to gather thralls on the Isle of Sipta. Exiles has a varied audience of players. During early access, we have made improvements based on feedback from each of these unique communities. I want to thank everybody that has joined us in making the Isle of Sipta what it is today.
All right, real
So
quick,
May
looking
27th,
at
2021. Yep.
yes, and let's real quickly look at current players. Now, this is of course on Steam, 8,881 currently playing. The 24-hour peak, 13,039, and your 7-day peak, 15,177. I will note, 100% owned by Tencent.
Tencent
They
now,
have
yeah.
Not, and again, we're no. Believe me, you know my political beliefs. You know I'm not a big fan of China, but you got to give the devil his due. They have done it. It at least appears to me they have had absolutely no creative anything over Conan. They just bought the studio, they bought Funcom, and just let it run because
Probably put some money into it, but
yeah, but nothing I've seen was like, oh, this is obviously the old, the old Red State influence. No, none of that at all. This game has done nothing, but I think continue to expand and grow under its Tencent ownership. That obviously could change any minute, Brian. You could flip the light switch and then they could ruin it. But to me, it seems like it's nothing but great stuff. So recap again exactly what's the difference? This is coming to Game Pass?
So well, they haven't given an exact date on Game Pass, but Conan Exiles itself is coming to Game Pass, so it'll be free for Game Pass people to play while it's on the Game Pass. And then on the 27th, so just over 2 weeks, they're going to be releasing this expansion. Can you go to that video really quick? And after like a minute, they showed a screenshot where they said, we listened to our like feedback, and then they showed two screens. Like they showed the old way that this like city looked, and then they transitioned to the new look. I was wondering if you could just jump to it. But because it's like they showed the exact same camera angle, but the old and the new, because I wanted to give people a good idea of what this kind of, it looked like it was a revamp of an existing area.
Let me look at this real quick. Hold on.
period. Exiles has a varied audience of players,
Is this
including RPers,
Further
PvPers, PvEers, and modders that play the game
it's
their own
before
way.
this.
We've added changes.
And face the
Yeah, before.
Conan
before this.
Exiles Isle of Sipta
Right before
introduces
that
a
one. You were
massive
just
new.
that was the after that you right where you started.
This is the beginning of the video.
Oh, is it the very beginning? So it's okay. Then it's a little ways through. They have like a far away angle. Yeah, we're probably not going to find it now. It's fine, but yeah, they showed it kind of like a before and after, and they definitely have put a lot more stuff in the world compared to like the old maps. So we will see. No, it's before that, so
Okay,
I'm not too worried about it. We'll be all right. It's all right. So that's coming at the 27th, and we will see. I don't see a price or anything on it, but
Cool. That is great to see. Another great addition to the Game Pass. Conan Exiles is arguably the most complete survival game that is out there. You may not think that if you've never played it, but boy, does it really have all of the checklist items for a great survival game. And the way that they've done DLC, Brian, is arguably the best. People love their cosmetic only DLC. Cosmetic only.
Well,
swords.
that'll be interesting because this is going to be
pieces.
a map, right? Or is this going to be on their existing? It seems like it's going to be a whole new map. So
this is a whole new map, but just in general, the way that they've just.
But this will be
DLCs.
interesting how this is received though, because this is their first one. This is their. They haven't really released another map, have they?
Yeah, they do. This. No, I don't think so. No, they've done
had
expansions.
DLCs of. Yeah, but I don't know, and they fixed the existing world. But this will be interesting to see how well this is received, because I'm not sure if the RP community will go for it or not, or if there's if the people that are interested in the game but wanted more content, if they'll come back to it. All right, so let's move on to there's just I wanted a quick note on some Sony news, because we've been kind of talking about Sony in third person, but
yeah, what you got?
Let's talk about something more direct. Sony is facing a potential class action lawsuit over some of the restrictions they've had on their digital PlayStation game sales. And a lot of this is kind of coming back to some of those digital keys that they were selling in like the various stores and things like that. So the lawyers in the suit, they say popular games are sold 75% more on the PlayStation Store than physically, and could go up as high as 175% more. Furthermore, lawyers claim that $7 billion of Sony's $17 billion revenue in the fiscal year that ended in March 31st came from overcharging for digital sales. So I think that the problem is they made it difficult to get sales other places. The lawsuit was filed this past Wednesday, and it claims that Sony stopped allowing third-party retailers such as Amazon, Walmart, and Best Buy to sell downloaded codes for PlayStation games 2 years ago. Resulting in a monopoly of the digital game sales. They made it very difficult to get the physical copies of the game, or to get you couldn't buy digital copies so you couldn't get the keys. You couldn't buy them through other sources. So you had to get them through either directly through their store, or you had to go get a physical disc, which ended up being a lot cheaper, as we saw. First random, it seemed really odd at the time. Why was Amazon selling discs cheaper than the digital copies?
It's really no surprise that Microsoft has secured its dominance in this market. Sony has had they have done almost arguably nothing but shoot themselves in the foot. They have had the worst business practices if it comes to crossplay, the selling of products on their stores. It appears to me, and I'm not a developer, that they have made it hell on earth for their developers to do anything, and frankly have made it probably an unsuccessful platform for making a game with all of these crazy asinine restrictions. It is
paying
no
extra just to
wonder.
have crossplay. I mean,
it's no wonder that Microsoft is kicking their ass in this market, and they're they're out of the market now. Essentially, I mean, it's not Brian. It's not even close. Sony is not even close to competing, and they were ahead. Xbox last generation. They kicked the Xbox One's ass because it was a terrible console, and Microsoft was so high coming off of the Xbox 360 that they thought they could do no wrong, and they made a bunch of terrible mistakes. They have recovered from that, and Sony has done nothing at all. And it's no surprise that it's like this.
One thing that I've been finding interesting is just all these things from these leaked documents coming from this trial about all these other companies and all the things that they're doing. It's like Epic is just kind of bringing down hail, you know, and lightning and fire with all these things, because they're somehow getting all these documents brought in the case. Oh, but here, Xbox did this. Oh,
it's because they're emails and they're all internal conversations.
Nintendo did this, and all of this is just coming back to bite them in the end. So I think it's kind of funny, showing you how much of this these companies are just, they make very poor decisions, and a lot of times they try to hide it. If it's something they realize you don't like, they hide it from you. So
yeah, it's a real shame.
Yeah.
All right, we are wrapping up the show here. Let's talk about. Let's wrap up here with Amazon. We have been patiently waiting years now for a game, not just a specific game, but just a game from Amazon Game Studio, and it does appear now. And I think we knew this was the case, but it's ever more obvious now that New World is actually going to come out. And they actually released a new gameplay trailer yesterday, I believe. Our buddy Nisco sent this to me. So do you want to take a look at this trailer and then discuss it quickly?
Yeah, let's go ahead. And then there's also some screenshots. I have an article linked in here that's not necessarily for the article, but there are some screenshots because this site got a hands-on thing of it. So afterwards, we can jump through some of those screenshots and kind of check those out. But this is a new trailer that came out, and they announced, you know, it's coming August 31st again. So coming up, not that far away.
Ooh, I like the logo.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I've seen that.
The games, yeah, I like that.
The substance of legend.
Fishing! Woohoo!
The pulse of adventure. The glory of triumph. Eternum is life eternal. And death incarnate. What is Eternum? The fires of destruction, rage and malice. Eternum is the truth behind nightmares. What is Eternum? That depends on you.
All right, there it is. New World. A very heavily produced and highly produced trailer. Wouldn't necessarily call it a gameplay trailer, but a trailer nevertheless. Voice acting and the whole shebang. You're a backer.
Sounds like they're getting ready for release. They're actually putting out content that looks like it's a little bit, there's some money put into it and a little bit of time, not just screenshots. Now let's jump through these screenshots really quick, just kind of get, because that's one thing is we're finally starting to see a little bit of the world. You can kind of see what it's going to look like in some of the dungeons and various aspects of it. So this, yeah, I mean, it looks, if you compare this to like WoW and things like that, it's light years ahead. It's a different graphic style. But the main thing I'm looking at is I want a world that's very populated, has a lot of stuff. Doesn't look like, I mean, if you look at WoW, there's a bunch of like dead area stuff that's just kind of put around. This one looks like it's going to be a nice big world. A lot of variants in monsters. Your characters are pretty varied, so it should be pretty cool. We'll have a link. We'll have that link in the show notes so you can check that out. But this will be New World, and I'm kind of excited for it. I mean, I have it. You know, they gave it to me because I signed for the free to play back when it was free to play. And so I should be able to get into it pretty early on once they start to let people play.
Now, real quick, because Jonesy's saying that trailer didn't tell me what the game was about at all. Can you quickly recap? It's an MMO.
Yeah,
it's
an
a new
MMO. So
it's kind of a redesign of what an MMO is. They're kind of taking a new twist at call it a 2020 MMO, right?
Yeah, so it's really hard to say exactly. I mean, I played the intro quest. Now, whether or not that's the actual intro quest or that's where they just kind of put people and started them out for that play test, I'm not sure. But I don't know the story yet. I mean, the lore has not fully been released on it, so I can't really say here what's what about. It's based on some new area that you're going and you're trying to conquer it. I mean, it's new world. You're going there. It's kind of a loosely magical conquistador era, but as far as what people are dressed like. But I would assume that it's maybe based off of loosely on South America or something like that, with conquistadors. But it's new world. It should be pretty cool. I mean, I've played some of it. It's got crafting. It's got all the elements of the MMO in it with a non-static class system. It should be pretty cool.
Yeah, and you can find more details about it and pre-order it. It will be available on Steam, and you can check it out.
Very good. Yeah. So are we good? Stop right there. And then I put a line where we ended. So there's some of these things we'll bring over into next week. Because we got a lot of Epic and Apple news and some other things that we'll talk about next week. Some Tencent news, since everybody loves those.
Oh yes. Absolutely.
One thing I want to make note of: Sennheiser sold the company sold to another company, which is my old headphones were Sennheiser. I had a pair of Sennheisers.
I don't use Sennheisers right now, but my previous headphones were Sennheisers, and I've got them as a backup.
They sold the whole company for $200 million.
That's not surprising. They were a very high-end audio company.
Yeah, so they sold
it
other to another company, and so I only mentioned it's not really related to us, but in the podcast world, I guess it has a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, the headphones I'm using now are Sony MDR 7506s, which I'm going to get a second pair of because I have to keep bringing these back and forth to the radio studio. If you're looking for headphones, these are great studio headphones. Highly recommend.
Yeah, and I looked at those too. So, yep. All right. Well, hey, if you want to find me,
the big coily cable that comes.
That's what I need because this one gets kind of wrapped up on.
Yeah, no, it's got the. I mean, this thing will go. You can. I was gonna say I could hang myself with this, but that's not what I meant to say. These are very long cables. Yeah. I don't know why that came to mind. That might. All right, I need to go.
All right.
If you want to find bad things happen.
If you want to find me at Brian Aldridge on Parler or Gab, or you can go to biteoftech.com. Of course, that's bite with an I. You can go to our website, codeinfectionpodcast.com. You go to the right-hand side, you see where it says join our server on Discord. If you do that, you can submit news to our news channel, hang out in our workout channel. We have a politics channel and the people hanging out, a lot of people playing Ark. We also have our Steam group if you want to get notified of when the show goes live. I mean, you may get notified half an hour later or right on time. Who knows? They're amazing machines. And then also we've got the podcast video formats. If you can go through Twitch, through YouTube, through BitChute, through DLive, and you can watch those live, or you can watch it after the fact. If you want to watch the pre and post show, you can do that through the Podcast Extras channel. And the lower right hand side, we've got all the audio forms. So whatever it's going to be a mobile app, a desktop app, web-based app, we've got a lot of places to do that. And if you want to follow along as you're listening, you go to the particular episode. This will be episode 330, and then you can click the audio player in there or the video player, and then click links throughout and follow along with whatever we cover. And also, if you go to the support tab up top, you can go to support us to that through infectionpodcast.com/support. And we have our Prime Gaming subs. We have just a lot of different ways you can support through Amazon, through Humble Bundle, and through Subscribe Star. And then, a lot of people have come up with a lot of ways to support us, and we've been saving that up. We don't spend it frivolously, and we'll be using it as soon as we can.
Yes, absolutely, and we will not be using it in Vegas. I want to say that for the record. The Vegas trip is just a personal.
Separate.
Yeah, this is just a personal trip.
It's kind of like a meetup almost, I guess.
Yeah, actually, yeah. You know, it's the infection.
Meetup with a lot of people.
Yeah, and I've got a couple buddies from here planning on. My father, I was like, hey, might be going to Vegas. He's like, oh, I like Vegas. I was like, yeah, okay, let's Let's do it. So yeah, it'll be a good time.
Cool.
I do want to thank our buddy UGX Vibe for hitting us up with the 39-month Tier 1 resubscription here on Twitch. We greatly appreciate our friend UGX Vibe and all.
And didn't he just get fast internet? So congratulations.
He's got Starlink. Yeah. He
I had my sister get that as well. Made a big step up for her.
Yeah. So, and I'm actually going to be running a mounting bracket for his router on the 3D printer tomorrow too. He sent me a link to it and asked me to print one of those out. So we'll pop one of those out and we'll see. He's when it gets close, when he's had more time to test it, I'm going to get a full report on the gaming is a problem right now because there's not enough satellites in orbit. So he has extended dropouts. I say extended dropouts. It's 5 or 6 seconds. But if you lose your internet for 5 or 6 seconds, you get dumped out.
Well, does that have anything to do with the mounting bracket as well? Is it shaking a little bit?
No, I don't know what it is. It's just because there's not enough satellites that when it has to stop and then go back to find another one, that's when you have
so
drop
it's the
out.
delay of it readjusting to the new satellite.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that they're putting them up, and I think by the end of the year they're expecting quite a bit more coverage.
I think these numbers could be wrong, but I believe the goal is to have like 44,000 of these satellites up. They have 1,200, I think, now. Their plans to have 44,000. So literally a blanket of multiple satellites over you at any given time, which would be really cool. So, we'll and by the way, if you have Starlink, I'm sure other people in our audience do, hit us up because I'm curious what the gaming side of it is. I mean, you can stream YouTube and Netflix. That nobody cares about that, but the gaming side of it is cool. So, all right, Brian. Well, thank you again for everything that you do, doing the show notes and the prep and everything. And we will see you. We'll see you unless the power and the water and everything goes out.
Oh man, I was going to mention the post show, but we had the stomach flu go through here over the weekend, and luckily it was short. One of them had to come home early from school today because he was puking. The littlest one, he's the one who brought it home to us originally. All of us have gotten sick from it. It's been quite the ordeal.
Well, fortunately, you do have power and food because if not, we would not be here. So we're planning on having power and food, so we'll be here next Tuesday. Thank you, Brian.
Yes.
Thank
you.
You can catch my lovely antics each and every morning from 6 to 9 a.m. on Wilmington's Morning News. You can find details on that at nickcraig.com. Certainly love to have you alongside us on that. My personal stuff, you can find me at Gab@Nick. And the website is nickcraig.com. If you missed any portion of this show, or maybe you want to check out those Conan Exile images, you can do so on our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.